But the thing you have to remember is this whole situation is a game, and as long as you still have this factor going for you, you get to keep playing and you're not stranded. What's up guys, it's Jacob Randall Holmes, and if you're new here, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and if you're not, thank you so much for showing back up. Today we're talking about the crazy Hunger Games-like experience I went through flying Southwest from Fort Myers to get back here. So by some act of God, I did arrive on Christmas Day, but that was definitely not what I was thinking was gonna be the case when I started my journey. So like many of you, my flight home on December 25th was canceled. And from my experience, what I've learned is if your flight gets canceled, there's a couple things you can do to help prevent getting stuck in whatever airport you're starting your journey in. So let me start from the beginning. It was 5:10 a.m. in Fort Myers, Florida on the morning of December 25th, Christmas Day, and my aunt was kind enough to let me stay at her house overnight and to bring me to the airport at 4:30 in the morning. And everything was going fantastic. I got to the airport, it's not crowded. I paid for SkyCab, they took my baggage. I walked past the Southwest counter. I walked over to security. For the first time, going through security at Fort Myers RSW was not a total nightmare. Got through security without having to take anything out of my bags, went through, got in line for Starbucks, am waiting to get my iced coffee, and I start to hear all kinds of people behind me losing their flipping minds. And I'm just starting to think, oh gosh, it's way too early for me to deal with this. Anyways, I'm standing in line at Starbucks. I open the Southwest app. I check my flight status, and sure enough, 45 minutes before boarding my flight at 6:30 a.m., my flight was canceled. And thus, we begin the annual Southwest Hunger Games. Side story, because of the fact that I'm a performer and singer, I had 3 Christmas Eve services that I performed in the night before, so I only had about 2 hours of sleep since I had to drive to Fort Myers from Miami that evening. Anyway, so I check my flight status, and sure enough, my flight is canceled, and I am starting to panic, mainly because I have not had enough sleep or caffeine to deal with the situation. So I wander over to the Southwest gate where my Southwest 747 is just sitting there, and there's nobody at our gate. So there's a line of people just talking to each other, being like, what are we gonna do? I don't know. What are you gonna do? This is the 4th time this has happened to me. Blah, 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 blah. All of that. So I call my mom, and she's like, honey, I'm sorry, it's 5 a.m., you're gonna have to figure this out. I'm standing there waiting at this gate with all of the people that were supposed to be on this flight with me 45 minutes before boarding. So it occurred to me that this entire thing was gonna be a whole game of who can get back to the Southwest desks the fastest. So, I put on my headphones, I put through a call to Southwest to see if I could possibly get an agent on the phone. That didn't happen, but I didn't know that at that point. So, I'm on hold with my giant Beats headphones, and I take my carry-on bags and I head back past security back to the Southwest desk. So when I get back near the Southwest desks, I have to get in line, and people on every side of me are just literally freaking out because, you know, it is Christmas morning and a lot of people are not gonna be home for Christmas, and that's just, you know, not the most fun pill to swallow. So the poor girl behind me was trying to go to Chicago O'Hare. She had to go from Fort Myers to LaGuardia, and then LaGuardia to Nashville, and then Nashville to O'Hare, and she just ended up deciding that she was gonna go back to school in Tampa. So it was really not going well at this point, and it was about 6:30 a.m. at this time. An hour and 45 minutes I am in this line, and this is when I did the first thing that can help prevent you from getting stranded in an airport for the entire day. I got on the Southwest app and I started searching. I started searching for more flights to Columbus. My original flight was RSW in Fort Myers to CMH John Glenn International Airport in Columbus, Ohio. And my rebooking through Southwest had me flying this flight on the 28th of December, and at that point I'm like, what is the literal point? So that can't happen. So I'm on the Southwest app, there's nothing out of Columbus. Now fortunately, I live just outside of this little village called New Concord. That's where my parents live. and it's about an hour and 20 minutes east of Columbus, which means I'm also about an hour and 45 minutes west of Pittsburgh International and about 2 hours southeast of Cleveland Hopkins Airport. So fortunately, because I lived in this area, I had a couple of options. So 45 minutes have passed. I've been in this line. I've only had one cup of coffee, and I'm starting to get pretty discouraged. But I have my phone in my hands. I've got the Southwest app open, and to my surprise, a random flight, a completely heinous flight, but a flight leaving out of Fort Myers appeared through the guest checkout portion of the Southwest app. So it was a 6:45 p.m. flight out of Fort Myers Airport to BWI, Baltimore, Maryland at 6:45 p.m. and that had a connecting flight going out at 8 p.m. to Cleveland Hopkins, which would basically get me back to Ohio at 11:30 p.m. on Christmas Day. Now, if you're watching this on December 27th, the day it is now, you're gonna realize that, oh boy, if you went to Baltimore, you would really be in trouble. And fortunately, there's a lot more story to go. It was at this point that I realized that this whole situation was a game. And as long as you had some type of reservation, you got to keep playing the game. Because I've been canceled on a Southwest flight before. They give you a voucher, they're very nice to you, they do what they can. So, I wait in line for another 25 minutes. Still on the phone with Southwest, no one is answering, it's whatever. So, I finally get up to the counter. And here's the other tip to making sure you don't get stranded in an airport. The Southwest employees, they are your friends. This is a team sport, and they are the only ones who can help you during the holidays because that Southwest line is not working. You're not gonna be able to talk to anybody. So it's these people that are gonna help you. So I get up to the Southwest desk. I look the Southwest employee in the eye and I give her my best Starbucks barista and Disney character grin, ask them how their Christmas is going, be nice to them, laugh with them a little bit, and basically say, I'm trying to go to Columbus, but I will definitely take a flight to Cleveland or Pittsburgh if you got one. So I was able to get a Southwest voucher, I was able to get a Southwest meal voucher, and I was also able to get on an absolutely heinous flight to Baltimore, Maryland at 6:45 p.m., which would then take me to Cleveland Hopkins Airport at 11:30 p.m. Yeah, not exactly my first choice in flights, but hey, I had a reservation, so I got to keep playing the Southwest Annual Hunger Games. So here's a fun fact for you. If you've ever had a flight canceled on any airline and you don't have another booking for at least 4 hours, you have to go claim your baggage if you have baggage. And if you fly Southwest, you know the best thing about Southwest is you get 2 checked bags, and oh man, did that make my morning more complicated because I had to go collect my bags. I was going home for the holidays from school. I'm in a master's program right now, and I had just a wild amount of equipment in my backpack because I just really needed to do a lot of work over this vacation. So I was traveling extremely heavy, and I ended up with all of this beautiful luggage. And I went down to the baggage claim, and there's this Southwest employee there just watching me struggle with all of my luggage that I absolutely could not manage, but hey, that was the situation I was in. So I somehow managed to get all of my luggage over to the Dunkin' Donuts. I called my mom and I called my aunt. I told them what was up, and my aunt said, hey, did you know that there's now another flight open? And I'm like, there's another flight? In the time it had taken me to go get my bags, a new flight from Fort Myers, Florida to Baltimore, Maryland to Pittsburgh that left at 10:45 a.m., connected at 1 p.m., and would arrive in Pittsburgh at 3:45 p.m. That flight was now an option. My aunt was basically saying, you know, I'm worried about you having that late connection in Baltimore because that's the kind of flight that would get canceled on a normal day. So at that point, I realized that I was gonna have to go back in that Southwest waiting line because, like I said, it's a game, and if you have the willpower, the cunning, and the energy to play it, you can get out of this airport. So I went back to the Southwest waiting line for the second time after already being in it for an hour and 45 minutes, and I got in it for the second time. Now this time, I didn't call Southwest because I knew that that was a lost cause. But I did do something that is the next step that can help you get out of this airport that you're stranded in. I was using the Southwest app, but I was using the guest checkout method because I only ever used it to check into a flight because, you know, I'm a college student and I am like a late 20-something, but you know, my parents still buy me a lot of plane tickets. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Love both of you. But I made a Southwest account, and I realized that on the Southwest app, there's a function where you can manage your reservation and change your flight. Now, if you try to change your flight on the app, unless it's the same price, you're gonna have to pay more. And at this point, I was pretty desperate, so I was about to take my Southwest voucher and book the first ticket that I could get, but my mom's like, hey, don't do that. You're on a flight, way through the line. Your flight's not till 6:45 p.m. It's 8:30 a.m. I had time, so I got back in it. So the first half hour passes, and this phantom flight to Pittsburgh is still there, but now, all of these flights to Columbus start appearing, and I'm like, what is happening? And I realized, if you have a Southwest account, you now can see flights that you can't just see if you're a general person trying to book a flight. So if you're stuck in an airport because your Southwest flight was canceled, the first thing you need to do is get back in that Southwest line and make a Southwest account. So now that I have a Southwest account, I have all of these other options, but it's like a game because these flights, every 5 minutes, would appear and disappear, would open and close, would be available and unavailable, because all over the country, people are canceling, rebooking, switching flights. It's just pure chaos. But hey, like I said, it's a game. This is gambling. If you have the energy and the cunning, you can do this. So stay in line. So 45 minutes into this line, 3 Columbus flights have appeared and disappeared. The Pittsburgh flight is still there. The Cleveland flight that I was on was now full. I'm like, okay, the flight I want is still there. 55 minutes in, the Pittsburgh flight is gone. And I'm like, no! And I was about to lose hope, but you know, 5 more minutes pass by and then it's back. And I'm just like, this is almost too much for me. And I should mention, at this time, all the people behind me are just really getting angry because some of them have been trying to go to Pittsburgh for 4 days. Other people have been trying to go home for even more days than that. This one dude who was trying to go to Chicago O'Hare, he had his flight canceled so many times that he had been in the Fort Myers airport for 4 days, and this was his 5th day. And he also left his baggage unattended, and TSA actually removed him from our line, and that was, you know, that was entertaining. Sorry, dude. An hour into this line, I am at the front of the line. There are 2 people in front of me, and I'm just sitting here, and I am looking at my Southwest app, and the flight that I want vanishes, and I'm like, this is it. I have lost the game. But then, this random magical straight-through flight from RSW to Pittsburgh appears. Boards at 2 p.m., is there by 4:30, has available seating, lots of available seating, and I'm like, what is going on? And it's like $195 to upgrade to this flight, and I'm like, I want to just voucher this thing, but I didn't because I didn't want to waste the voucher, and I was stressed, and I hadn't had enough coffee, and I didn't have any sleep, and everything is just going crazy. So I'm at the front of the line, it is my turn, I walk up to the desk, and this Southwest employee is the employee that watched me struggle with all of my baggage back up here. And she's like, hey, round 2, right? And I'm like, oh, you got it, Merry Christmas. How are you, friend? We exchanged pleasantries. And she's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, there's a straight through flight to Pittsburgh. If you got it, I would love to get it. She's like, I got that one, leaving it to it. I'm like, book it. She books it, let's go. We're going to Pittsburgh. I've been at the airport since 5:10 a.m. I started my day traveling to Columbus International Airport. I then booked a flight to Cleveland Hopkins Airport, connecting in Baltimore, Maryland, and now I'm on my 3rd booking of the day, trying to go to Pittsburgh. 3 bookings in less than 4 hours. What could possibly go wrong? What do you know? Finally, at this point, I call my mom, I'm like, hey, guess what? Now I'm flying into Pittsburgh at a reasonable time. I don't have to go stay at my cousin's house. And she's like, awesome, let us know what happens. And I'm like, I'm not convinced anything's happening, but I will keep you in the loop. I go through security the 2nd time, but fortunately, that was also a breeze. Fort Myers Airport has really improved their security system. It's not a nightmare, it's nothing, it was all good. I head over to my gate, I'm just chilling. Couple hours go by, more guests start showing up, and I realize that all the people that are trying to go to Pittsburgh on this flight have been trying to go home to Pittsburgh for the last 3 days, and they've all had their flights canceled 3 days in a row, and their situation was very, very similar to mine. It was canceled when they were in the shuttle on the way there. It was canceled 20 minutes before boarding. It was randomly rebooked to like December, whatever. Yeah, so I'm like, oh, so they've all not gotten in this flight 4 times. Another fun fact, if you have the Southwest app, you can kind of see what's happening with Southwest's booking system, which apparently is really old and outdated, but hey, I don't know. Anyways, my flight is not listed anywhere. Now, the other flights that you can book, they will say available, unavailable, there'll be a price, things like that. And that gave me a new piece of information. This flight was probably gonna happen because, number one, it was not on the unavailable, available, or even in existence list. And second, because it was getting delayed. And people may disagree with me, but if your flight gets delayed by 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour and a half, that probably means that there is a plane coming for you and there's a crew coming to you. So this flight is probably gonna happen. So the flight is delayed by about an hour and a half, but then miraculously at like, I don't even know what time, the beautiful blue 747 rolls up, we get on the plane, we get on a full plane, we get pushed off, the flight takes off, we are headed to Pittsburgh. I land in Pittsburgh just shy of 6 p.m., a little early. I land in Pittsburgh and I go to get my bags, and that was a whole other catastrophe because there was not an employee to be found and the bags were like 3 bags deep, and I somehow got my bags. I walked into the -8-degree weather and they took me home. If you're in an airport, you're stranded, you are flying Southwest, and you don't know when your next booking is gonna be, I recommend you do these things. Number 1, download the Southwest app. You should already have that if you checked in. Step number 2, if you don't have a real Southwest account, make a Southwest account. Number 3, if you're at the airport, go into the Southwest line. It doesn't matter if you have to go through security again. Trust me, as long as you have a reservation for that day, you get to keep playing the Southwest Hunger Games. So go back in the line. Go, 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 go. Get in the line, talk to the other passengers, be a nice human, go up to the Southwest counter, talk to them, be nice, because they are your team member. And remember, this is a team sport, and you only get to go home if you're nice to them, because they're the only ones who are actually trying to help you. Get on a flight for the day, even if it's a connecting flight. Go for one of the later ones. Something else will most likely pop up, and apparently don't go to Baltimore. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you liked it, make sure to leave a comment and hit that like button below. Subscribe for more videos, and if you didn't like this video, make sure you hit that dislike button twice. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and remember, new videos weekly. I will see you in the next one. See ya.
And I can promise Santa's coming to visit. No, he wouldn't